woman used her kidnapper's phone to make a terrifying 911 call to the police. From there, a shocking series of murders that rocked the entire United States came to light. Young women in a small town kept disappearing, one after another. Where did they go? What dark secrets was this man with the charming smile hiding? Hello, everyone. Today, we're going to recount the story of the haunting house case. Background on Stacy Stanley and her disappearance. Our story begins with a woman named Stacy Stanley, also known as Stacy Hicks. Stacy was born on April 21, 1973. She came from a large family in New London, Ohio, USA, with 4 siblings. She was the mother of 2 sons. In 2016, at just 43 years old, Stacy had already become a grandmother, and her 3-year-old granddaughter was her greatest joy. Stacy worked at a restaurant in Ashland, Ohio, and spent most of her free time with her family. Her life was peaceful and happy. On September 8th, 2016, a Thursday, at 6:41 p.m., after finishing work, Stacy went to the Walmart in Ashland to shop. After filling her cart with gardening supplies, she stopped at Nails 2 Salon for a manicure done by the owner, Pam herself, since the shop was about to close. Stacy was thrilled with her new nails. Then she drove to a gas station in Ashland. However, her 2003 Mitsubishi Eclipse suddenly got a flat tire. Not knowing how to change it, Stacy called her son Corey for help. Corey quickly asked a nearby friend to assist his mom. When the friend arrived, he saw that someone was already changing the tire for Stacy. It was a kind stranger who had passed by, noticed her trouble, and offered to help. The tire was fixed. During the call, Stacy told Corey she would stop at a convenience store to buy coffee as a thank you for the helpful stranger, then give him a ride home. Corey wished her good night and reminded her to call him in the morning. But Corey never heard from his mother again. That good night conversation became Stacy's last memory in this world. After the call, Stacy and her Mitsubishi Eclipse vanished from the gas station. Searching for Stacy and discovering the car. The next morning, Corey couldn't reach his mom. After checking around, he realized no one had heard from Stacy since the previous evening. With her not at home, Stacy's family quickly gathered about 24 people and started searching Ashland, beginning at the gas station. Eventually, they found Stacy's Mitsubishi Eclipse on East 9th Street in Ashland, but the car was empty, with only her purse and phone inside. The driver's seat was pushed far back, and the ashtray had a cigarette butt of a brand Stacy didn't smoke. Clearly, the last driver wasn't Stacy. This was a red flag. The family immediately reported her missing to the police. However, the police refused to open a case because the disappearance was too recent. When they learned Stacy had a history of addiction, they even suspected she was out partying or using drugs somewhere. Thanks to the family's persistence, the police reluctantly issued a missing person alert. They didn't realize this was already the second woman's disappearance in Ashland that month. The disappearance of Elizabeth Griffith. Most residents of Ashland knew Elizabeth Griffith. She was friendly and got along with everyone in this small town. Elizabeth often called 911 just to ask things like, whether heavy snow would block the roads. Over time, the police learned she had severe mental health issues and needed regular medication. Despite that, she faced life positively. To everyone, Elizabeth was like a child, innocent, kind-hearted, always smiling and trying to warm others even while tormented by her own illness. Around August 2016, a friend from Elizabeth's support group received a call from her social worker asking about her whereabouts since they hadn't been able to contact her for days. That's when people realized Elizabeth had been missing for 2 or 3 weeks. Investigations showed that around August 13, 2016, Elizabeth took a bus to Walmart in Ashland to shop, then visited a restaurant. After that, there were no traces. On September 9, 2016, the day after Stacy's disappearance, the alert for Elizabeth spread across social media and Ashland's streets. The people of Ashland quietly prayed for the safe return of both women. But they had no idea that behind these mysterious disappearances lay a horrifying case that would shock the entire nation. The terrifying 911 call and the arrest of the perpetrator. On September 13, 2016, just 5 days after Stacy's disappearance, at 6:48 a.m., Sarah Miller, the dispatcher at Warco, Worcester Ashland Regional Council of Governments, received a 911 call she would never forget. A woman with a trembling voice said she had been kidnapped. She had untied herself and was using the kidnapper's phone to call while he slept in the same room. Sarah stayed calm and gathered information, while Police Chief Jim and 2 other officers rushed to the location. To avoid alerting him, they didn't use sirens. Fortunately, despite a minor mishap, the kidnapper didn't fully wake up and went back to sleep. The police arrived at 363 Covert Court in Ashland. Guided by the woman, they found a man half awake in the first-floor bedroom. The unclothed man was the main figure in this story, Shawn Grate, 40 years old. The survivor's testimony. The woman who called the police was named Jane Doe, a pseudonym to protect her identity. At the Ashland Police Station, she was taken to the office of veteran female detective Kim Major. After calming down, Jane recounted her experience. She and Grate met at a community center in Ashland, quickly becoming friends and eating lunch together almost daily. Grate had expressed romantic interest, but Jane wanted only friendship, and Grate agreed. On September 11, 2016, Grate invited her for a walk. On the way back, he said he had a bag of old clothes to give her at his house on 363 Covert Court. Shortly after entering, Grate attacked her from behind, strangling her. The more she resisted, the tighter he squeezed, eventually subduing and tying her up. Over the next 3 days, Grate repeatedly assaulted and tortured her. That morning, she freed herself, and while Grate slept, used his phone to call 911 and escape. During the conversation, Kim Major keenly noticed that Jane knew Elizabeth Griffith, the woman who had gone missing earlier. It turned out Jane, Elizabeth, and Grate all knew each other. Elizabeth lived above Jane. Once, while Grate and Jane played badminton in the backyard, Elizabeth saw them and greeted them, leading to the 3 becoming acquainted and often joining community activities together. With the kidnapping suspect just arrested, knowing a recent missing person, Kim Major's intuition told her this case was far from simple. After the talk, Jane was taken to the hospital for a checkup. Kim Major eagerly interrogated Grate to clarify his connection to Elizabeth. Background on Shawn Grate. Shawn Grate was born on August 8, 1976 in Marion County, Ohio, bordering Ashland. Grate was handsome, always smiling, giving the impression of being gentle and humble, like the boy next door, easily lowering people's guards. But behind that facade was a shattered childhood. At age 6, his parents divorced, and Grate lived with his mother. At 11, he came home to find his mother gone. She had left for Kentucky to date, abandoning her son. Grate had to live with his father's remarried family, leaving deep psychological scars. In high school, Grate was an outstanding baseball player, the only thing he was proud of. But an accident broke his arm, costing him his position. During the exam, doctors found a malignant tumor on his arm, requiring surgery. His body healed, but Grate's mind began to twist. In 1994, at 18, Grate was arrested for violence against his girlfriend. In 1997, he was sentenced to 4 years for 2 thefts, but served only 7 months before parole. In 1998, he was arrested again for violence against a second girlfriend. More horrifically, after parole, he sneaked into her house, dug a hole behind the sofa to hide. When the girlfriend and her sister returned, he jumped out and attacked both. This time, Grate didn't escape and was imprisoned until 2003. Afterward, Grate seemed to reform. In 2011, he married Amber Bowman, whom he met at church, and they had a daughter. But his true nature emerged, forcing sex even when his wife was tired or sad, controlling everything and getting angry if things didn't go his way. After a major fight, Grate became violent with his wife. Amber decided to divorce after just 1 year of marriage, a decision that saved her life. From his history, it's clear Grate was no law-abiding citizen. Next, his mask of crimes would be peeled away layer by layer. Interrogation and initial confessions. In the interrogation room, Grate quickly admitted to kidnapping and assaulting Jane Doe. But the questioning didn't stop. Kim Major shifted gears. "Do you know Elizabeth Griffith?" Grate looked up and calmly replied, "No." For the next 10 minutes, they went back and forth, but Grate revealed nothing about Elizabeth. Kim thought he would resist, but unexpectedly, Grate confessed to another case she didn't know about. The case of Candace Cunningham. Candace Cunningham was from Canton, Ohio. In 2015, Candace told her mother she had met a good man she might marry. That man was Grate. They lived at 1027 East Park Avenue in Mansfield, near Ashland. One evening in June 2016, they argued. It started as a verbal fight, but escalated until 3 a.m. Candace threw a cigarette pack at Grate, enraging him. He attacked furiously, strangling her to death. Confirming Candace wasn't breathing, Grate wrapped her in a blanket, dumped her behind the burned house, and set the house on fire. Heartbreakingly, when police found Candace's body behind the house, no one had reported her missing. Now, Grate had confessed 2 cases to Kim Major. She knew she had built trust, and his inner world was opening up, an opportunity to probe further. Under relentless questioning, Grate finally revealed Elizabeth's whereabouts. Discovering Elizabeth Griffith's body. On the morning of September 13, 2016 at 9:22 a.m., Ohio BCI agents and Ashland detectives obtained a search warrant for 363 Covert Court. Entering, they saw the phone Jane used for the 911 call on the floor. Through the cluttered living room and kitchen, they reached the first-floor bedroom, finding Jane's ropes on the mattress, handcuffs, and a stun baton on the table. Upstairs, the old wooden floor creaked. Turning right at the top of the stairs led to a bedroom with a sofa bed stained reddish-brown. To the right was a pile of toys and clothes, with more clothes on the floor. Clearing the floor items revealed countless flies and maggots, a sign of death. Removing the clothes exposed a closet door sealed with electrical tape, as if to contain odors. Opening it, under a pile of clothes was Elizabeth Griffith's heavily decomposed body. She lay face down, hands and feet bound. Even seasoned investigators were deeply shocked. Meanwhile, at the station, Grate told Kim the full story of killing Elizabeth. Around August 2016, at 11 p.m., Elizabeth called Grate because she couldn't sleep. He invited her over to play games. Once she entered the haunting house, her fate was sealed. Upstairs, Grate claimed Elizabeth said she wanted to experience death. He strangled her to death. At that moment, she murmured, "Lord, forgive him, for he knows not what he does." After Elizabeth, Grate confessed Stacy's location. Discovering Stacy Stanley's body. In the basement, under a pile of trash, investigators found Stacy's body. One of her hands wasn't even covered. At that point, it had only been 5 days since she was last seen. Grate recounted, that evening on the way home from the gas station, he invited Stacy inside. She agreed. Inside, they argued. He overpowered her, assaulted her, and killed her. Kim Migger sensed Grate's calm demeanor during the confession, as if it were routine. Ashland detectives believed Grate had committed more than 3 murders. Second interrogation, and the case of Dana Lowry. 2 days after Grate's arrest, on September 15, 2016, Kim Migger interrogated him again. Grate quickly confessed to his first murder in 2006. Dana Lowry, from Minden, Louisiana, was 23, recently separated, leaving her 2 young daughters with her ex-boyfriend to seek work up north. She sold magazines door to door in Ohio. Initially, Dana called her daughters 3 or 4 times a week, but from May 2006, the calls stopped. Her ex thought she had abandoned them to live her own life. In reality, Dana was buried in Ohio. Grate confessed. At the time, he had reconciled with his mother. Dana sold magazines to his mother but didn't deliver after taking payment, angering him. One day, Grate drove by and saw Dana walking, sweet-talked her into the car, took her to his basement, and killed her. He dumped the body in the outskirts. In March 2007, skeletal remains were found but unidentified, becoming a cold case. After the heavy interrogation, Kim went home with files to study. Her son Cole entered the room and saw her with a map marking places Grate had wandered and camped in Ashland. Cole recognized one spot near where a woman's body was found the previous year: Rebecca Lacey. Rebecca had been addicted to drugs since her teens and later prostituted to sustain her habit. The coroner found multiple substances in her body, no fatal wounds, concluding overdose, with the body moved post-mortem. Rebecca's family didn't believe it, but without evidence of murder, the case closed. Kim realized it couldn't be a coincidence. Third interrogation and confession to Rebecca's case. On September 17, 2016, Kim and Police Chief Martin interrogated Grate for the third time. Grate confessed. He and Rebecca played pool. When he returned from the bathroom, money was missing from his wallet. Rebecca denied it and tried to leave. He grabbed her, they struggled, and he strangled her to death. He used a borrowed car to dump her body where it was found. Trial and sentencing. In April 2018, Grate first went to trial for the murders of Stacey Stanley and Elizabeth Griffith and the kidnapping of Jane Doe. The brutal case drew widespread attention. Prosecutors presented strong evidence and called witnesses like Kim Major. Jane Doe bravely testified about her ordeal. The most heartbreaking part was the victims' families having to relive their loved one's final suffering. On May 7, 2018, after 4 hours of deliberation, the jury unanimously convicted Grate on all charges: aggravated murder, robbery, and kidnapping. At the sentencing phase, the judge imposed the death penalty by lethal injection. The courtroom erupted in applause. After coordination, the haunting house was demolished by authorities, leaving only painful memories. In March 2019, Grate received life sentences for the cases of Candace Cunningham and Rebecca Lacey. In September 2019, he got life without parole for Dana Lowry's case. The entire case was closed. Grate's current status and lessons learned. Grate's death sentence was originally set for execution on March 19, 2025, but it has been delayed due to appeals. As of 2025, Grate is still appealing his death sentence in federal court, and Ohio has not carried out any executions since 2018 due to legal issues with the lethal injection method. In any case, Grate will pay with his life. This case changed many lives. The victims' families lost loved ones forever. Jane Doe survived but carries indelible psychological scars. Sarah Miller, the 911 dispatcher, received Ohio's Dispatcher of the Year award, the highest honor in her profession. The story is thought-provoking. How did a demon who killed 5 women over a decade remain free for so long? What systemic failures allowed it? From Dana in 2006 to Rebecca 9 years later, are there other related cases? It may remain a mystery forever. Finally, stay vigilant and safe. See you next time.